Howdy, Ayebawl here. Welcome back to another episode of Factorio with Arumba's Angels plus Boss Mods. So I started off with getting research stocked up on iron plate, and I came up to the solution of not having enough iron plate. I am going to bypass the ore sorting and just take the Zephyrite straight into the furnaces. This is because the ore sorters are producing copper, which I don't need any more of. I got plenty. And the ore sorters are doing 2 to 3 ratio for the iron plate, where if I just take the Zephyrite and crush it, I can just go straight for a 1-to-1 ratio for iron plate. So I'll double up the furnace area and just throw it into the warehouse. So now that that's done, I do need some engines for the diesel locomotive when I start building the train. Go ahead and get some railroads set up or produced, so I'll have it when I start building trains out into the wild, wild west. I go ahead and get the stone set up some more. So now I got a lot more iron. Refill the research. So I got flight going. I'm almost ready for the robots. And this is where I take the time to go searching for some more Zephyrite and find out what else is out there. I run into a couple of biter nests, but I do my best to avoid them. So I lucked out. I found some Zephyrite right in the middle of a dense forest, surrounded by biters. So I head south on my way back, and I got lucky. I found 2 more spots with some Zephyrite. So I think I'm going to hit that up first. So now that I've got an idea about where I'm going to expand, I need to set up circuits, at least the basic boards and the ones and the circuits that use the transistors. But in order to do that, I'm going to need to start producing wood on a factory level. So I found a nice spot above the smelter area, and this is where I'm going to start producing trees and then little saplings. So it takes me a moment to get this set up. I start off with one way with the output of the seedlings in the middle, and then later on I realize it's probably better to have the output of the seedlings before the input of the seedlings. That way the lab can output the seedlings and then turn around and input right back into itself. And then to jump start it, need an area for that. So I'll start off with 12 just to see if I got this right. and then it looks like I did. So clear out some more trees out of the way so I can double the size. I'm sure I'm going to need lots of wood for the circuit boards and for the resin. I put a splitter in there so at least half the wood will go to producing more seedlings, and the other half will be going towards making the resin and the basic circuit boards. And basically it's just belt line all the way down to the bus area. So here's where I double it up, satisfy the way that it's working. Then I'll head back down and start producing circuits for the bus line. So I wasn't really quite sure how I was going to set this up. I was thinking about using the 3-2 method vanilla, but with the circuit assemblers, they've only got they're only 2x2, so that wasn't really going to fit. So I'm just going to do one copper wire to one circuit, and it will just produce what it produces. So I'm going to need to use those initial circuits to build the circuits with the transistors. So I'm just going to pop those on over to the next area. So the carbon, I found out later that it's actually being used for several different components. So for right now, it's just going to go right here and produce the circuits, but I will eventually rebuild this over by the furnace area and just put carbon on a belt and put it on the bus line. At least that way I'll actually have a supply of coal to run the system. Right now it's just a bunch of coal put in a box. I know the circuits, they'll just eat up the resistors, and the third step to the circuits, I believe they're the white circuits, which they'll use the transistors. Again, they'll just eat up the resistors and the transistors. It just gets worse from there on, so it's going to end up being a lot of carbon. But for right now, just something that's being automatically produced on the belt, so I'm not constantly making things out of my pocket. So now that those are made, I need lubricant for the electric engines. So I head on up to the 2 oil spots that I have after emptying out some unnecessary stuff in my inventory, and unloading all the stone into a new storage facility. So I thought I could just lay down a couple pump jacks, then throw down a an oil rig and just start producing heavy oil, then straight for lubricant. But then here I found out that's not the case. So what gets outputted is something called a multi-purpose oil, which apparently has oil and natural gas in it. So the first thing you have to do is separate that. And then it just becomes a very long, drawn-out process that I was not ready for. So in my previous games that I've played, I've come to a realization that when it comes to liquids in Factorio, I don't know if it's the game mechanics or what, but the only true best solution is to just barrel it up and take it wherever you need it. Just running long pipes somewhere cannot handle throughput at all, especially when you scale things up. But for right now, I'm literally just focusing on just getting a handful of lubricant so I can get some robots going. So right now I'm just going to throw everything into storage tanks, and I will try and figure out a more cleaner setup for this entire oil process that's severely a lot more complicated than what I was ready for. So I'm still having to cycle through the new machines and try and figure out this complex puzzle. So it took me a moment, but I realized that I need both the crude oil and the natural raw gas to make lubricant. So right off the bat, I got my hands full. So the red and yellow there, they're going to get tanked up, but the green is what I actually need for that side. So in order to make lubricant, I need that green oil, and then I need some kind of purple gas, which is made through as a byproduct from methane, ethanol, and I don't know, bourbon. So you take the raw natural gas, and then that gets split up into a byproduct and natural liquid. Natural liquid gets distributed into those three types of gases, and then goes to those machines. But for those machines to work, I need purified water. So instead of just bringing in water, I'm just going to cycle that sulfur byproduct of sulfur water to give me my purified water and that. So that's it for now. Thank you for coming, and I will see y'all again tomorrow.